My name is Georgette Peltak, and on behalf of the Hooksett High School Study Committee, tonight our role is to present to the board our final findings on the potential cost of building a high school here in Hooksett. Tonight's presentation is not, we're not moving forward on an additional stance. This is follow-up to the high school survey that went out last year. Those of you that remember receiving it, there were a lot of questions that did come back stating, I feel like I might want a high school, but there's still some unanswered questions. The largest one being the cost of a high school. So listed is just the membership of our committee. Either take the time and read it all. It's a mix of some of the SAU people, school board members, town council members, budget committee members, planning board members, and myself, a community at large member, and a couple others. I'm just going to briefly review what our committee charge was. Again, the committee was established by the Hooksett School Board. The High School Study Committee has been reorganized and recharged with broadly framing construction and operating costs, curricula, extracurricular offerings, and other considerations associated with the Hooksett-only high school for grades 9 through 12. Our analysis will include, but not be limited to, development of preliminary educational specifications, the cost of operating a local high school as compared to the tuition arrangement, the financial impact of construction costs on the Hooksett community, and the benefits and challenges of operating an independent high school. The study committee shall also conduct research on the types and likely probabilities of financing options available for school construction, including state building aid, public-private partnerships, incentives for green construction, or long-term build lease agreements. It is explicitly understood by the school board, the study committee, and the Hooksett community that the research and consideration of a Hooksett-only high school in no way precludes the school board and Hooksett community from simultaneously exploring and pursuing other options for educating the Hooksett high school students. So again, we're not here to push a high school, we're just presenting information. Our agenda, we're going to go through our methods, our findings, any caveats, and open it up to any questions that you may have. The way that we performed this charge, we broke up into teams to compile information from recently built high schools, some with similar town and or student populations. The schools that we did select, specifically Bedford, Bow, Windham, and we did input information regarding Hooksett if we were to build a new school or choose to convert Holly to a high school. And then establish standard questions to put this information together. Our first slide here reviews the 3 different schools that we did review, and we did, when we broke up into groups, we met with the superintendent of each school and reviewed this information. Bedford and Bow started in each initial year. They only had a couple of grades, which is why the cost is so different here. We can start with Bedford. In the first year, 2007 and 8, they only had 2 grades. So the operating cost per student was $15,187. You can see as you go up in 2008-9, they had 3 grades, and then the following 2 years, it was a full high school. Everybody was there. So as of year ending last year, 2010-11, the operating cost per student was $11,225. For Bow, as you can see, when they started, they went through the same thing, $12,993 at the initial, and then in the year 2010, 2011, it went up, actually Bow, I'm sorry, I take that back. In 2007, 2008, they were a full operating high school because they were built so much earlier. But in the recent years, you can just see the progression in their costs. Windham, they started 2009, 2010. The cost obviously was much higher because of only having 2 grades. And then in 2010, 2011, they did have 3 grades, and we're keeping this all consistent, which is why we stopped at 2011. You can see their tax costs or operating costs per student did come down because it did have 3 grades. The state average, if you make a comparison on your own, you can see the different years. I guess I could make a note here that our current tuition agreement with Manchester, because we did talk about that, how does this differ? last year. We paid $8,300 per student, that's the base cost. However, we have to include the capital costs that is also included in that of $2,033.36. So it totals out to, for what we are paying Manchester for our students, $10,333.36. So when you compare it to where Bedford was last year, the difference there is not crazy, which I think people were concerned, my gosh, if we build a high school, would it be $20,000 per student to send them? What is the total cost of the building? Bedford to build their school. Again, their school was a bit larger because they included a middle school and a high school. The 1,500 student design, it was $50 million. For Bow, the actual building, $13,258,913. Wyndham, down the bottom, sitting down $50 million. Now for Hooksett, in talking with the contractor who developed this school, to convert Colley into a high school would be $9,303,600. This is not to be held to, this is an estimate. That would include $1,500,000 for 2 additional fields that would be needed and parking for high school. If that was the case, we would then need to make a middle school, and that estimated cost is about $29 million, almost $30 million for a new middle school. To build a Hooksett only high school to support 600 students with the ability to convert or support 900. This would be a school with no auditorium, like for example at Pinkerton, they have a big auditorium. I know Wyndham, their costs, they are high, they had a big auditorium put on theirs as well. But the high school that we would be looking at with no auditorium would be around $42 million. Land costs, what is the total cost of purchasing and acquiring land? We didn't have that breakdown for Bedford. However, in Bow, they didn't have to worry about a land cost because they did a land swap with the town. Wyndham, we didn't get that actual land cost either. I think it's all incorporated in there. For Hooksett, the Colley conversion is noted up there at $6,500,000. That would be on donated land that we have from Manchester Sand and Gravel. It's a nice gift, but it's not buildable land. We need 25 buildable acres in order to build a high school. So although we have free land, that would be better suited for middle school if we were to convert this to Colley to a high school. And so for site work on that donated land, putting roads in and water and all that, that's where we come up with that figure. For Hooksett, their own high school, a brand new high school, the estimate to purchase 25 buildable acres, if we could find them somewhere, would be approximately $7 million, $7,500,000. And that is included in our $42,000 for the school on the previous slide.
Are you taking questions as we go, or are we waiting until the end?
If you want to ask a question now.
I just wanted to ask if the land cost was part of the 42, or is it additional to the 42?
That was included in on the 42.
Oh, so it's just a breakout of it.
Yes, I should have put that on that
Okay.
slide, yes.
Thank you.
The 42, the $7 million was included in that figure.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you for bringing that to our attention. So basically the breakdown, we could have, and we probably shouldn't have broken it down each year. However, the range from the estimated tax impact for the school on the community for Bedford, and I say a range because from when it initially opened until last year, the highest that it went was $1.74. So the initial year it started was, I think, 73 cents. And then in the next year it was $1.74. It actually went down, I think, to $1.50 something. But the maximum between the date that Bedford School opened until last year, the highest it impacted on top of their school tax was $1.74. For Bow, it stayed flat at $1. And for Wyndham, they have gone as high as an additional $4.65 for their school tax rate. So. Something to consider is the building aid. When each one of these schools was built, there was the lovely building aid from the state, and they received 30%. That number is calculated based on if you're a single school district or a multiple school town district. And those were all single. They received 30%. Right now, there is no state aid. However, there's a lot of things going on at the State House that potentially may come back. So depending when and if we decide to move forward with the high school, we potentially could have the state aid, but there's no guarantee. Right now, it's not available. Another slide just to kind of make comparisons. Bedford, who again have their middle and high school for 1,500 students. We just put in here to kind of get a guesstimate in comparison. The median household income, and this is based on 2010 data, 116,299, and their population of 21,000. Bow, another town, 731,000 with a population of 7,500 students. Population of 7,500. Hooksett at 81,500 as a median income, with 13,451 as a population, and then Wyndham, 386,000 with a population of 13,592. The last caveat again is that this is a compilation of data and not an analysis. Again, the key point here is building aid may or may not be available in future years. We don't know. But most importantly, the information gathered for this presentation is in no way meant to influence the community to go forward and build a high school, but rather to just research and compile the information from previous questions from the school board survey that went out last year. So, that being said,
I'd just like to make a comment. I thought it was a very thorough presentation. I like the fact that you put in the median incomes in a lot of detail, because for a long time we've just been saying a number.
Right.
And I had my doubts when we were going to reconvene the committee. You know, it's really going to be something to do, but we certainly have come up with a lot of really good data.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Pass it on to the committee. Thank you.